Hi families, Miss Kim here with day 19 of the Adventure of Christmas, helping children find Jesus in our holiday traditions. Today we're going to talk about Christmas pageants. Christmas pageants is a Christmas play that usually shows the birth of Jesus. It follows that whole story, biblical story about the birth of Jesus, about Mary and Joseph traveling to Bethlehem and not being able to find room in the inn, and so they have to stay in a stable, and then that's where Mary has baby Jesus is in a stable, and she lays him in an animal's feeding trough. And then out in the fields where the shepherds are watching over their flocks, some angels appear to them and let them be the first ones to know that Jesus has been born. And they rush to see him and they worship him. And then a star has appeared in the sky to show where Jesus is born. And some wise men from far away have been following the star, and they are coming to worship Jesus. So the Christmas pageant tells that story, and it usually has beautiful music and beautiful costumes and everything. And this year, we can't have Christmas pageants because of the coronavirus. But you know what? You could have your own pageant at home. Let's read about Christmas pageants, okay? You might be surprised to learn that the word pageant comes from the Middle English word pagans, which means wagons. You may be wondering, what in the world does a wagon have to do with a Christmas pageant? Good question, and the answer is delightful. Medieval dramas were often performed primarily at Christmas and Easter on floating stages. Think like the Tournament of Roses parade. These large two-tiered wagons were covered with decorations and flowers. The lower half of the float was encased in a curtain and served as a dressing room. The top half was the stage where the holiday pageant was performed. There were as many floats as there were scenes in the play, and each scene was played by a different guild or troupe of actors. The festival began in the morning with Act 1, Scene 1. The first wagon would pull into the street, and the first troupe would perform their portion of the pageant. When their scene was complete, they would move on to the next street and perform it again for a new crowd, while their previous spot was occupied with the next wagon and the next episode of the sacred drama. These roving stages would progress through town in carefully timed procession. While individual scenes were relatively short, it was the multiple intermissions necessary to move the wagons from one site to another that seemed to take all day, and well into the night. Sometimes as long as 18 hours later, the final curtain would fall, along with a few exhausted actors, I would imagine. Why go to all this trouble? To reach people where they lived and teach them in their own language. This was the 15th century, when most people couldn't read, and the church services were all done in Latin. These Christmas miracle plays dramatized Jesus' first day on earth. In so doing, they followed the instruction he gave on his last day. Go into all the world and preach the good news to everyone everywhere. Paul wrote, "Thanks be to God who always leads us in triumphal procession in Christ, and through us spreads everywhere the fragrance and the knowledge of him." That's in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14. As we travel during these busy holidays, maybe or maybe not, from state to state, store to store, house to house, and even room to room, more like it, each of us is a movable stage, displaying the life of Jesus, carrying with us the fragrance of his presence. We've talked before about how we are supposed to reflect what God is like. When people see us, our attitudes, our actions, our words, they should see what God is like, what Jesus is like. Jesus came to show us what God is like, and now we are here to show people what Jesus is like. We do that with our actions and our attitudes and our words, which all starts in our heart. All of those things. Our attitudes come from what's in our heart. Our words and our actions come from what's in our heart. And so we need to have the love of Jesus in our hearts so that when people see us and hear us, they'll see the love of Jesus in us. So you may not be able to travel this Christmas. You may be stuck at home again, but you can put on a wonderful Christmas pageant right there in your own home. If you have some way like um, an iPad with FaceTime on it, or you could use maybe Zoom or Google Classroom or something, or an Amazon show, something like that, that you can um, film yourself, actually do a live play. It's like being on TV, and show it to someone like your grandparents or somebody who's lonely and doesn't have any family. You can put on a play for them. Your family could put on a play. Wouldn't that be so much fun? You could dress up in your bathrobes, put towels around your heads to look like shepherds and everything, and go out and find a big stick to look like a shepherd's staff. Make something to be baby Jesus' the feeding trough where they laid him. Yeah, that would be so much fun. So think about doing something like that this Christmas to be a blessing to someone else. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.